All right, this is our Mechatronics Safety talk here. Remember, in this class, or in all of them, it counts across. So if you take it in one class, it counts for all the rest this year. But you do have to get 100% on this test to stay in the program. You're gonna have 3 tries to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Just talking about general safety rules for us, right? No horseplay, no screwing around in the lab or in class or anything. All right. We have a lot of expensive equipment here that is dangerous. Full-size robots, plasma cutter, CNC mills, all very, very dangerous. So just make sure we're not screwing around, okay, because we can get hurt, and we can get hurt bad here. Make sure you follow all written procedures. A lot of that applies to the labs. Make sure we're following step by step, kind of how we had to do when we were soldering and doing those sort of things back in digital electronics. But follow everything step by step, all written procedures. So please make sure you read through the lab manuals and things like that. All right. Also, only work on machines that you are instructed to. If I have never instructed you or given you the okay to use the plasma table, I better not see you on the plasma table trying to cut out steel. Okay? Same with the CNC mill, especially with the robots, all those sort of things. If you haven't been instructed and I haven't given you permission, you will not be using those. All right. Make sure you check through documents, understand all the different safety precautions related to working with each piece of equipment, and I'll go through those with you on a step-by-step basis. All right. Don't ever remove lockout tagouts or try to fool sensors in order to make something work. Okay, that's kind of a general rule, just in industry practice. If, someone's lock's on there, you're not going to take a pair of bolt cutters and cut the lock off, all right? The only person that can take that lock off is the person that put it on there. So even if you're working, say you're working down at Nissan and you were working on something, you left your lock on and you went home because your shift was over, they would call you up, make you come back in and take your lock off because you are the only person that's allowed to remove that device. All right. So make sure you're observant if we have wet floors or oil or hydraulic fluid essentially on the floor. All right. In the lab, when we start using the hydraulic trainer, all right, it does drip out of the hoses. It gets on the floor. It makes the floor very slippery. So you got to be careful. Make sure you clean up any of those messes. Same when we're washing our hands at the sink after working on labs. The plasma table is full of water, all right, it splashes, it gets all over. The floor can get wet, so we just got to be observant where wet spots potentially might occur and, checking to see if the floor is wet. Avoid wearing jewelry, long baggy clothing, all right, when we're on the trainers. I don't want you leaning over and your necklace or whatever gets dangled or caught, or your watch gets caught on wires, those sort of things. So we really got to be careful when we're doing that. Don't wear rings, things that can conduct electricity and it can arc to baggy clothing, getting caught on different pieces of equipment, or get something caught accidentally inside of a CNC, or just all kinds of different things, guys. Lots of common sense. So make sure, like sleeves are up, no baggy clothing, no jewelry, that sort of thing. All right. Always assume circuits are on, all right, and check them with a voltmeter. Always assume something is on. It's better to assuming the positive there, then just say, hey, it's probably not on. I'll go touch some stuff. That happens. My cousin's an electrician, and he's been told many times that, hey, that panel's dead. It's not on. And he's gone over there with the meter. Sure enough, there's live electricity. So always assume that a circuit is on until you've tested it with something to make sure that it is off. Okay, namely a multimeter. Always in here, only use a tool what it's designed for. All right, screwdrivers are not pry bars. Pry bars are pry bars. Okay, we don't pound nails with screwdrivers either. We use hammers. So, making sure that we are using the right tool. All right, it's not only for your safety because you could end up breaking a tool and hurting yourself. All right, but hey, I don't want to replace a bunch of tools. Okay. Make sure the area is clear of tools and other people before operating a machine. This one's important because just in general, when we take some of the protective covers off, like the mechanical drive, and you guys set them on the floor, those become hazards for other people working in the lab and working around you. So always make sure that that's clean and clear. Another common place, all right, When you guys are on the 870 trainer and you're using the multimeter to take readings and you have a couple screwdrivers there and you're checking wires, a lot of the times you accidentally leave the multimeter on top of the equipment and then you try to run the equipment and the multimeter gets stuck. So different things like that. Make sure when you're running machines everything is clear. Alright, don't leave extra clamps on the CNC mill. Make sure everything's clear so there's a path for it to actually do and operate its work. Okay, so very important there. And I've covered this one already, but it's very, very important. Don't use any tools or trainers until I've instructed you how to use them. Alright, so just don't walk over to the Fanuc and pick up the teach pendant and try to just move it around and things like that. All sorts of different things. Even the electrical trainer. May seem easy, but I don't want you blowing fuses. Those cost money in the long run and can damage the equipment, and this stuff is not necessarily that cheap for us to replace in the classroom here. Okay, we must always use safety goggles and shields when necessary. We do lots of sanding here, or when we're around the plasma table you need to wear the safety glasses that are tinted, alright, to protect your eyes. And then on every single lab that we are doing, just like we did in electronics, alright, you will always have safety glasses on. I would please advise you to bring your own from home. I can have some backups here for you provided, but you know, we're taking nails out of stuff for some of the fundraising we do and all those different kind of things. So I just want you guys to make sure that you know every time we are doing some sort of lab, other than probably the robots because you're outside of a cage, will we be using goggles. Now, if you have glasses and you'd rather keep your glasses, as long as you get side shields for your glasses, I'm 100% okay with that. And you can get those. They're not real expensive, but you can find those on Amazon and stuff. Alright, make sure this is also important. I don't want you guys hurrying through the lab work. That's when a lot of accidents happen, or you know, we lose parts, or things fall apart, or you leave stuff half undone and you don't remember where you were in your lab and that sort of thing. So please don't hurry through lab work. You get bad work and accidents happen. So don't be careless. I will write you a pass to class if it's, you know, something where you're going to be a couple minutes late. Big one, keep the lab clean. Alright? When we are done every day, tools get put away, computers get put away, you know, 3D printer filament gets put away. Everything gets cleaned up. You know, even if we're on the plasma table, you know, scrap metal gets put away. Things get cleaned up. The floor gets mopped up. The CNC, we vacuum up all the sawdust, make sure the machine's off. All these different things. And I'll go with you on a case-by-case basis. You know, we're programming PLCs. You need to make sure that you take the laptop and put it away when we're done. Don't leave it sit there hooked up, you know, and your chair's there, there's a desk there, your lab manual's sitting out there. I mean, because there is another class that's going to come in and use that before you use it again. So it's very, very imperative that you guys do that. All right. So electrical injuries, right? We've already been through this before. Current kills you, right? The main test question here is the maximum current level a human can withstand before sustaining injury is 15 milliamps. Okay, 15 milliamps. So that will be on the test there. Anything above that, you're going to start, it will contract your muscles and do those sort of things. Obviously, we can see, you know, 6 amps is pretty much death or frying you and that sort of thing. We won't even feel like a milliamp. It might tingle just a little bit if we touch something, but for the most part, you know, you can see up there that our average resistance is 1,000 to 100,000 ohms of resistance, and then beyond there, it's going to conduct all around us. So just remember, test, we get some maximum up to 15 milliamps. All right, so different injuries, right? Different things produce heat. So the motors produce heat when they've been running for a while. It will be hot to touch. The solder irons you guys experience in digital electronics, very hot to touch. Instant blisters will instantly melt wire, instantly melt plastic, all those different things. Okay, so just be careful and know that anything that's been running for a while is going to get warm. Alright, and then if it's warm and stress it, then it burns out. But we can get severe burns here. If you do get burned, you need to let me know, alright, and make sure that we run it under cold water, and then we'll, you know, assess if you need to go see the nurse, or is it just like a little quick one and we're good with running some water on it and those sort of things. So, different injuries we could have, right? Smoke from burning or melting components. All right, we got to make sure we're not breathing in when the plasma table's running. I mean, it's pretty clean because we got the water bed there for it. But, you know, I don't want you sitting there smelling. Same with, like, smelling the sawdust while the CNC mill's going or those sort of things. You know, kind of like when soldering, don't want you sitting there breathing in all of the solder as well. All right, battery chemicals. I throw batteries away. I don't want you guys messing with them. They can be very dangerous, very hazardous, all right? We have a lot of moving parts in here. We have multiple Fanucs, all right? We have a really big Fanuc. We have cylinders, okay? And they're pneumatic cylinders. They're not going to stop because you're there. It's going to hit you and hurt you. We have conveyors. We have motors, lots of things that rotate, grinders, saws, CNCs, everything that moves and can hurt. So be observant about what's going around you. You know, someone else might be operating something, but that doesn't mean that you know, you don't have to pay attention to your surroundings and make sure that you don't get hit or hit someone with something that you're working on. All right, so you know, just different injuries we can come across, right? Pulling integrated circuits out. You guys remember that those were sharp. The wires can be sharp on the trainer, so be very careful of doing those sort of things. When we're working with the metal on the plasma table, all right, the metal can become sharp and have ragged pieces and stuff that we need to clean off. So make sure that we're wearing gloves and things like that when we're working around the metal. You know, small things like splinters when we're doing the wood art and those sort of things. You know, just wires can fly off. You know, just in general, we have some lubricant on a motor shaft, and it flies off into you. So, different sharp tools. That's why it's important that we use the right tool for the right job, because you know. A screwdriver isn't necessarily meant for a hammer to hit it on the backs, and if you hit it wrong, you will slip and hit your thumb or your foot or those kind of things. So just be careful to those sort of things. All right, so just to review again, all right, we're always going to clean up after ourselves, and we have no food allowed in the lab. So that's around the computer lab, in the back, or around any of the equipment. No food, no drink. Now, does that mean you can't have drinks in class? No. You can have drinks in the classroom portion of our class as long as they have a lid. So not an open soda can, but you can have a bottle of soda with the lid that keeps it closed. All right, so it's very, very important that we pay attention to that, because you may not knock it over, but someone else might knock it over, or someone bumps the table and it spills. All right, food and liquid do not work well around machines. We want to keep them clean, keep them working. We've had them here for a long time, and the goal is to keep them here working for a long time as well. All right, the lab, the computer lab, all the machines, everything will be cleaned and put away before we go. Now, obviously, there's some big things that we might not be able to put away, but tools and all those sort of things we will not leave behind. Rules: please be respectful of each other. All right, nothing derogatory, nothing political. Don't take and post pictures of someone on social media. I mean, we shouldn't have our phones out anyways, because we should be busy actually doing our lab work, any of those sort of things. So essentially, I mean, no cell phone unless I give you permission to get your cell phone out, and you know, you need to ask if hey, I wanted to show my parents the lab we did in class today. That's completely fine. Take a picture of it, video it. Just make sure that I know why your cell phone's out and why you're using it. And don't take a bunch of random pictures of people in class or things like that without them knowing. I don't want anything like that ever showing up on social media, and it's not appropriate to do anyways. Our computers are very good computers, all right, for where we are. I mean, essentially they're gaming laptops and things like that. Hence, they are for class work only, or writing papers in your other classes, or research. They are not a gaming platform for you to come in and load like Epic Games downloader and start playing something, okay? They are for classwork only, and they are, if there's one specifically at a machine, it needs to stay at that machine, all right? Ask if you can bring a laptop out into the classroom, okay? But we have a couple nice sets. They are very high-end machines right now, and I don't want anything happening to them. All right, so lastly, no talking when I'm talking or when your peer is presenting or asking a question, okay? We give each other all the same amount of respect. So if I'm talking, I don't want to hear you talking to your friend if I'm lecturing, you know. Maybe you don't want to hear this part, but someone else who wants to get a good grade wants to hear that part. So just be respectful to one another. And then we're all going to be doing, you know, projects and presentations. So remember, you're going to be on that center stage too. So don't talk when they're talking and they won't talk when you're talking, sort of thing. So just be respectful. You know, what goes around comes around. And don't talk when anyone else is talking. Just pure respect. All right, that's probably one of the biggest pet peeves. Don't be on your cell phone. Don't be texting. Don't be calling. Don't be social mediaing, doing any of that sort of thing. All right. So there's most of our rules, our safety procedures, everything we need to do. Next step, we'll be taking the safety test. Remember, you have 3 tries. Got to get 100% on it. If you don't do well on the first one, I'll send you your results so you know which ones you might need to look over. Any other questions, and I will see you in class, so bring them with you if it's a problem. You know, make sure that you have it written down so we can take a look at it together.